Hello everyone. Today we'll solve some problems on functional interfaces, lambdas and stream API. So let's start from functional interfaces and lambda expressions. Write a math operation interface that takes two numbers and returns the result of the operation. So we should implement it using lambda expressions. Alright, let's go and create our interface, which we will call math operations. Math operations interface. Math operation, okay. Let me rename this. Rename math operation. Okay, so now let's put an annotation that is a functional interface so that our compiler would know what to expect from us. So now, as we know, functional interfaces, these are the interfaces with one abstract method. So now we will implement one method that we will call, let's say, operate. Okay, operate. What's the return type of our function? Let's say void. So in order to perform a mathematical operation, we need two variables. So let's say integer a, integer b. Alright. And we put semicolon. And let me change the return type into a double. Okay, so this is now double. Let's go and create a main method, main class, main methods. So lambdas, they are anonymous functions for anonymous functions, meaning a piece of code without a name, where we can pass the behavior as a parameter, and that behavior will be stored in a variable. So we can store our methods in a variable without creating a class. So let's call our math operation math operation interface to declare a lambda expression. So let's call it add. Let's start from add. Now first we need to pass the parameter. Alright, so let's say x and y. Let's use parentheses, x and y, and then we put the arrow sign, and here comes the body of our lambda expression. So we want to add those two numbers, so say a plus b. Actually it was x and y, so x plus y. And now let me do the same for all math operations. I will just copy this and I will say multiply multiply, divide, and subtract x minus y. Now we have our lambda expressions. So this is the syntax of lambda expression. You can see the parameters and the body. So let's go and test our lambda expressions. So let's print, and let's call add dot operate. So remember, the name of our method is operate. So operate, let's say a will be what? Say 1 and 3, 1 and 2. So we'll add 1 and 2. Let's subtract 5 and 2. So this is subtract. Now let me use multiply. Multiply 9 times 4. Now let me divide 9 to 2, let's say. Now let's run this and see what we got. So 1 plus 2 is 3. 5 minus 2 is 3. 9 times 4 is 36. And 9 divided by 2 should be 4.5. Why so? So the last one is 4.5. Now let me try to change the variables to double. And now let's see. And now it's correct, 4.5. Alright, move to the next task. Use a class. Create an anonymous class that implements a runnable interface and prints the message hello from anonymous class. Alright, let me implement it in our main method. So anonymous class is an older version of lambda expressions that were used before Java 8. So runnable is also a functional interface. You can see, and it has a method abstract run, which we're going to implement right now. So R1. Now we call the constructor new runnable, and here we overwrite the method run. So we wanted to print out the message hello from anonymous class. Hello from anonymous class. And I should put a colon in the end. So this is our anonymous class. To run this, we can use R1, so the name of anonymous class. The name of our expression dot run, and this should print out the message hello from this class, as you can see. Now let's go to the next task. Lambda expression with predicate. Write a lambda that checks if a number is even. So we should use predicate. Predicate is a functional interface that takes a parameter and returns a boolean value. So let's create our lambda expression. So we write predicate with a generic type t, and it says we call this is even. Let's say is even. Then we have our parameter parameter so some number a, and let's say num. Then we tell in the body say num %2. So that's how we check if the number is even, equals 0. So looks like we have a mistake. First of all, I think we should import the predicate, and let's get rid of t and import predicates. And use parentheses for this. Looks like the generic integer. Yes. So now it should work. Let's print out the results and call is even dot test. This is method, the abstract of class of the interface predicate. Call test, and here we pass the arguments. So 5, if it's even, should return false. Should return false because it's not even. Now let me check 4. 4 is even, so it should return true. True. Let's test negative number. Negative is also even, so it's true. Alright, now let's move to the next task. Lambda expression with function. Create a lambda that takes a string and returns its length. Okay, let me get rid of this. So function is also a functional interface that takes a parameter of type t. So it takes a parameter of type t and returns a value of type r. So also we should import function, and we can see it takes a parameter of type t and returns a value of type r. And it has the abstract method apply. Before function, okay. So we are to create a lambda that takes a string and returns its length. So it should take string and return integer. Get length. Here we should pass the parameters. So let's say str string and get length. So str dot get out get length dot apply. This is the abstract method of class of functional interface. And now let's find out the length of the world. So we have 5, should return 5, as you can see. Alright, now let's use consumer. Write a lambda that takes a string and prints to the console. So consumer is another functional interface, takes a parameter, but it takes no parameter, but actually it takes a parameter but returns nothing, returns no value. Let's check. Import the library consumer, so it should value. Let's call it print. Let's say status. So it takes no, we'll leave it empty. Actually it does take a string. Status, and now it should print out our status. Or let's call it message. Actually, let me rename print message. Now let me call print message, and it has the abstract method except, as you can see, returns nothing, void. So it's used to print the messages. Let's call it hello. Now let's run this. As you can see, our lambda expression works correctly. Now two predicates, one that checks if an is 0 and another if it checks if it is even. Combine them or and. Okay, so let me get rid of this. Create predicate with the return type, with the type integer. So this will check if the integer is greater than 0 than 10. So is greater than 10. We pass some number and check if number is greater than 10. Alright. The second one, check even. So predicate integer and then check if that number is even. So number %2 is equal to 0. Alright, and that is greater than 0 than 10 dot test. The abstract method our predicate is test. So 10 is not greater than, should return false. But 11 is greater than 10, so return true. As you can see, true. Actually, we could combine methods. So we can combine this using or and default methods of our predicate. So as you can see, default and that returns test and other, which we will pass, and or, which also returns a boolean value. So let's go and do that. Predicate of type integer. We will say or predicate so is greater than dot or is even. This is or predicate. Now let me copy this. I will write and predicate, and predicate, then we change it to and so is greater than 10 and is even. Now let's check this. So we say or predicate, so this should be true because this one is greater than 10, but it's not even, which is not necessary since it's or. It's true, but if we use and predicate, then it will be false because number 11 is not even. False. Okay, now let's move to the next one. Write a b function with a type string, integer string, that takes a name and an age and returns the string name age. Okay, so create b function with the types string, integer string, string, integer, and this function. Okay, so we will call our function print something, print. Okay, actually we misspelled the b function. Should be b function, and then so we should take name, age, and return a string. So it takes a name and age. In parameters we say name, age, and print out, return the string. So it should return the string. It will return name, and it should distributor name and comma h. So let's print out what we got. Print, and it has method apply. So print me John with the age 40. Let's run this. Alright. Now comes the interesting part, Stream API. So the first task is to filter a list of strings by length. So given a list of strings with the name words, Java, stream, lambda, functional. So we should leave only lines longer than 5. Okay. Let me remove this and we'll start filtering our list. So first of all, what is Stream API? Stream API is a powerful feature that allows us to manipulate with data, applying and intermediate operations. So instead of writing multiple lines of code, we can use streams. So we can use stream to perform multiple operations on our data, such as filtering, sorting, and other useful methods. So now we create a stream. So first, I think we should create a new list. So let's say list string words with length greater than 5. Okay, a little bit long name. So we'll use words.stream. And then so what we want to do is we want to filter this. Filter so we want only the words with a length greater than 5. How can we do this? Easily, as we used to work with lambdas. Filter, the method filter, which is an intermediate operation, it uses the function interface predicate. First we should pass the parameter, let's say word, and that word, the length of that word should be greater than 5. So this is our filter. Then we want to collect all those words into our list. We can use the terminal operation collect, use collectors dot to list. Alright, put semicolon. Now we can print out this words with length greater than 5. So as you can see, all the words are greater than 5 except Java, so Java will be removed. It must be removed. So as you can see, stream, lambda, and functional. Okay, now let's filter a list of numbers given a list with integers, and we should leave only numbers that are multiples of 5. So let me take this list now. So we have our list. Let's create another list where we will store the result. So integer, how do we call it? Multiples of 5. Okay, so we use the list numbers dot stream. Now we want to filter this again. Filter, say number, parameter number. So multiple of 5 means that the number percent 5 is equal to 0. So if numbers divide remainder, then it is a multiple of. Okay, now we need to collect this to our list. So collect collectors dot right new list, which is so we should have 20. Let's run. So as you can see, 10, 15 and 20. Now let's move to the next one. Given a list of string words, and we should convert the list string to a list integer to its lengths, right? So let's remove this, and I will create a new list of integers where we will store the lengths. So lengths, let's call it like this. So we use the list words dot, then dot. So we want to convert. So in order to convert strings to another, use the map. So map, how does it work? Map to int. Okay, map to double, map to string. So we want to use map to int, map to int, map to int. Here we should have our so we can use the method reference operator string double colon length to get the length of each word from the list words. And instead of map to int, we can use just map. Now we need to collect this again. So collect is a terminal operation, meaning it can trigger the computation and return the result. So collect collectors dot to list. Alright, now we print out our new list lengths. We run this. So So you can see apple has 5 letters, banana has 6, cherry has 6. So everything works correctly. Now let's move to the next task. Create a list of squares of numbers. So given a list of integer numbers, let me copy this, and we should obtain a list of integers that contains the squares of these numbers. Alright, now let me print the list. Let's create a new list of integers as well, which we can call squares. So again we use numbers.stream numbers dot. So what do? We want to convert again, so we want to convert this. We can use map. So again we remember the syntax of the lambda expression. First we pass the parameter, so let's say some number, then we want the square of that number, so number times itself times number. Alright, and now in the end we need to collect the results, so we need to collect and put them to a new list using the collectors.toList. Now let's print out our results. Squares. Alright, so we see 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. Looks like the squares of these numbers, right? Now let's move to the next task. Given a list of integers, let me copy this. We need to sort the numbers in descending order. Let me paste our list. And let's create a new list of type integer. We'll call it sorted. And so we use the list numbers dot stream, then dot sorted. There is a method sorted that also sorts the numbers. Then again we use collect and put them to our list. So to list. Okay, now let's print out our sorted list. So this is in ascending. Can we change the direction of the sorting mechanism? Let's see. Sorted. What if we say reverse? So we should use comparator reversed order. Now let's run this, so we can see it is in reverse order. Alright, so whenever we want a custom sorting, we use comparator. So if we use just sorted, then it will sort it in natural order, which means in ascending order. Alright, now let's move to the next task. Given a list of string words, again banana, apple and cherry, sort the list alphabetically. So let me take this list, now put it here. So we create a list of type string. Again, let's call it sorted. So we use the list words dot stream, then dot. So again we can use sorted, I think. and collect it to our list. Let's see. Is it gonna work? Yes, of course. So we have our elements, our words in ascending order. Sort the list alphabetically in natural order now. Now let's move. So we have a list with the names. Names begin with A. So let me take this list and I will what we want to do, we want to count how many names begin. So A. So is we can use the filter, let's say name. So we want name. There is a method for this. Starts with yes. The result. Now let's print names with A. So we should have, as you can see. And it says count. I think we could use count as well. We use count. Now sure. So we can get rid of the list, put it in the integer, remove collect. Alright. The problem is, I think that the count has a return type long, so that's why we should have long as a return type. Because of the type mismatch, it cannot downcast to an integer. That was the problem. So we can see that should print 2, since we have 2 names with the which starts with the letter A. And the last list of integer. Let me take this list. Special method which is called this, that we can use list of integers. Call it unique. So we take our list of stream, go and the distinct. So distinct, look at elements. So So as you can see, distinct. Then we should collect it in the array. Collect to so we should have 3, 4, 5, our unique number. As you can see. Alright, we're done with the basic operations. Part 3. So given the list, maximum number. Alright, let me put that list. Max will use so we'll find the maximum method max. So this method max, it requires the implementation of the comparator for this. The comparator, but and it requires, okay, let's use optional. No, type integer. Let's got 15 is our maximum. Now let's move to the next task. So again, let me paste it here. We'll the method min. Here we use min, but now it's not integer, but compared to, what's wrong? Alright, so should print out optional. That's the correct answer. Alright, now the list. Given a list of integers, find the sum of all elements. Then what do? So let me use a variable sum. We'll use the list numbers dot stream to get the sum. So sum of the numbers from our array. We should remember of type integer, so the wrapper them to a primitive data type int. We can use map and we can reference operator and use integer to primitive integer. Now we can print out the sum. So it should be 10, 15, 18. Yes. The result is 18. Moving to the next one, we have the names. The first name. So let me paste it here. So the first with B is Boris. So we should obtain Boris. Alright. Let's get string with B. Then we list names dot stream dot. So we can use filter. Name starts with and then we can use the method find first get. We will return the first name, that's B. And let's print out the name. So it should be Boris. As you can see, Boris. Alright. Checking if a list contains at least one element based on a condition. So we have a list of integers and we need to check even number. So let me get rid of this. So what do? We check if there is at least one, and we have a hint here. We can use method. So this is an integer. So we use now stream. What do? We use filter. First we filter, let's say n, to even number. So n%2, n divisible by 2 should be even. Then we say find any and dot get. Alright, now let's print out. So it says no such element. There is no even number in our list. So let me change this a little bit. Change the return type to boolean, true or false. Instead of filter, we could directly use. So we were given to use any. Here we pass the condition, semicolon. So out says false. even number in our list. That was the last task for part. Stream API, grouping and reduction. So given a list of string with a word, and we need to split the words by first letter, the collectors grouping by. Let me copy this list. So we want to have split the words letter. So to group the words by their first letter, we need to have a map to store our value. Map with the character and of course we should import a map library. Okay. So how do we call this? Grouped by letter. So we created a stream, then we can collectors. So when to letter, so we can use name dot character. Alright. So what's the problem? Import the class. Fine. Now let's print out a map with the group. So by letter. As we can see, we have apple. Starts with A, B, and C. A, B, C. Yes, so I have banana and cherry. Group the words by their first letter. Alright, now the second task. Given a list of integers, we need to divide the numbers into even and odd. So again, we use the group. So let me paste our list, and this time it's gonna be let me remove this map. We want to divide them into and odd numbers. How can we do this? So, as I said, we need a map. The keys will be even and odd, so this is string, even and odd. And the second, we pass our list of integers. And then let's call it grouped list. Grouped list. So numbers, stream. Can we do this? So again, we should pass the parameter n, integer. So n, if n is divisible by 2, we can use a ternary operator. So if that result is 2, then we will put it into even, and if false, it's odd. Alright. We have a mistake. Yes, should be equal to 0. List. So now we should have 2 strings with the even and odd. 3, 5, 7. Yes, we use the ternary operator and group the elements into even and odd numbers. Alright. Now let's in a list of strings, and we need to put it into one string like this. Okay, let me take this list and paste it. String. Actually, let me remove this. So again, we want to convert the list into one string. To do this, we need to get all the values, put them in a single string, separating them by commas. Okay, how can we do this? Very easy. So names dot string dot there is a method joining that allows us to join the elements of our list. So in this case we want all of them to be in one string, so we use collectors. Want to join them using comma, so delimiter comma. Right, and now we'll put all of these to some string. Let's call it result, and let's print out the result. So as you can see, Anna, Boris and Vladimir, they are in one string now. Alright, of integers, we need to find the average value. Let me copy this. How can we do this? So use numbers dot collectors dot average. Okay, let it be averaging integer, and then we need to change it to integer. Averaging integer. integer values to extract the integers from our array, and the return type will be double. Alright, now let's print out our average. The average of this is 7. Let me check. So 4 plus 8 plus 10 plus 6 divided by 4. Yes, it's 7. Could we use integer here? No. Why? Because incompatible types. Okay, makes sense. List of strings. The key is the word and the value is. Again, we should use a grouping by. So create a. So the key is integer. Let's call word. Let's just call it map. Word length. And use words dot stream. Collect. Grouping by. How do we group it by? By the word and the value. So group by the word. So words and length. Actually, for this case, we should use the method to map. Allows us to group the words by the word and by their length. So word, let's say string, length. Word length. Let's see what we got. Banana 6, apple. So this was the last question for the part. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.